I've never made a video on heartbreak, betrayal, infidelity, cheating, or brokenheartedness overall for a very good reason. So although we're going to discuss how to heal from heartbreak and betrayal, I need to make it abundantly clear that you as an individual and them as an individual will always make a unique individual relationship, and advice cannot apply to you universally. What I say to a client who's healing from a heartbreak after 10 years of marriage and then they're divorcing is different from a younger client who's in their first serious relationship and it was only 6 months long. It's an incredible world of variety. Is it a man or a woman receiving the advice? How old are they? What are their emotional levels of resilience like? What's their motivational pattern, and how do they get safety and security? All of these questions are running around in my mind, and I almost skipped this video because I just don't think I can be very useful for you. Having said that, there are some universal principles, but I do just want you to know it's your relationship, it's your heart. I'm a man outside of you. I do not know what your heart needs, only you know what your heart needs. Certain people need the experience of writing several love letters and grieving the loss of their girlfriend, even if they cheated on him. They still need to have that experience of, oh, it could have been so good, and all the memories that we shared together, and if only you had have been more faithful. And they need this very romantic, almost for many men, embarrassing way of grieving the loss. But they might do that for 3 letters and then they get back into their life and they move on. Another man might need a feeling of, well, she showed her true colours, she cheated on me, no contact, completely cut off, and then it's several months of pain, maybe a year of pain, and they didn't even go into it. They didn't properly grieve via love, because even if someone did cheat on you, or even if there was a heartbreak outside of infidelity, and it's just the two of you having that moment where you realise you're no longer compatible, or maybe the fights have gotten out of hand, there will always be 2 sides of every coin. Unless you were completely delusional, there are genuine aspects of that person that you still love. And this can still be the case many years after a relationship has ended. It doesn't mean that you're in love with them. It doesn't mean that you should keep feeding the energy of, oh, if only, if only, if only, if only. But it does mean having a mature, healthy relationship to emotional processing in the same way that we would if we were grieving the death of a loved one. Because a relationship death is a death. It's the death of the third thing between the two of you. It's the death of your projected dreams and aspirations and who they could be for you, and the death of also all of that fantasy around what you would receive in return. If you're dating a man who was successful and incredible and inspirational and just the best thing ever, and then suddenly one day he did something dreadful and you decided to end the relationship, it doesn't mean that he is now all bad in the same way that he wasn't all good before. But you grieve the loss nonetheless. You grieve the loss of the perceived future, but also the genuine, tangible emotional benefits that you're experiencing in the relationship. You no longer spend time cuddling. This is something that was really important, surprisingly, in so many of the one-to-one sessions I've had of people who've been going through breakup. There's been people who are going through breakup before we start working together, people who are over 6 months into a breakup, people who are breaking up during the time that we're working together, and then people who are on a conscious celibacy path and start dating someone 3 months into our work together. I get to see men and women at various stages of this healing process, week in, week out, and men and women generally need quite different things. Women tend to be a lot more close to the wounds in the sense that they really want to drop as much as they can in the outer life to just focus on that healing issue. They're not really interested in talking about the job or talking about the fitness or talking about the creativity if they're going through a breakup. They want to resolve that, and they tend to resolve it much quicker than men, because men, as I mentioned in my video on why men don't go to therapy, men tend to find safety in the outer world before they feel secure enough to go into the inner world. They want their career in place, they want their finances stacked up in a way which will give them the emotional security of, okay, things aren't falling apart, and they'll also want fitness, they'll want a variety of things all stacked up, all ordered, and then they can be like, wow, okay, now it's a bit safe to actually dissolve and realize that it wasn't okay. And it's a stereotype. All of this is painted with a broad brush, but generally speaking, women will want to go deeper into emotional breakup territory. Men will tend to want to do some secondary approaches, which still is very important and very valid. But there are also women who will want to completely do other things, and men who will want to go straight into the wound. I can't make a video like this and be very useful for many people because it's always so particular. If you're someone that's been in a 5, 10, 15-year marriage or a long-term partnership, and it's a feeling of loss and grief and heaviness, it will take you many years realistically to fully integrate all the lessons of why it didn't work out. It's just a realistic answer. If you're someone who's in a shorter term relationship and maybe it was fireworks and butterflies and it suddenly fell apart, that's more of the projective collapse that you need to deal with. It's more of that feeling of, wow, I really got hooked on the fantasy space there. I had a bit of a love addiction almost, or maybe just a physical intimacy kind of addiction, right? There's all possible scenarios and pathways. Betrayal doesn't necessarily mean the end for some people. I've seen these stories out there of men and women who are in marriages and something happens during a particularly stressful period of time and they go through massive trauma, massive difficulties, they go to couples therapy, and then 30, 40 years later, they actually healed the wound. You might have a particularly strong reaction to that idea that if someone's a cheater, they're always a cheater, but I would invite you to reflect on the times where you've hurt someone in your life, when you've done something to your body. Let's imagine you've self-harmed, you've overdosed on a certain type of substance, or you've otherwise hurt someone physically. Just because you did that once, does that mean you're going to do it again today? No, it doesn't. You have to take it with the nuance that there's always a dense, complex situation around every cheating, every infidelity, and every betrayal, in the same way that there's a complex situation of all the positive reasons that a relationship works. You can't get much from videos like this online when it concerns the health of your own private romantic reality. Your heart is not just your heart, it's the heart that you share with your partner, and their heart is also something which you love and respect. And even if it's ended, you can benefit from a period, a moment, several seasons, however long you need, of coming to that moment of grief. Once more, you're feeling the weight, it's a few months out, and you're like, oh, I miss them. And you can acknowledge that emotion, you can feel it all the way into the depths, no matter what the situation was, no matter how dramatic it was. I still love you, I wish you the absolute best. Can't speak to you, but I hope you're well. And you say it in your mind or you write it in a letter. Probably don't message them, probably don't call them, definitely don't go around that house and end up in their covers until 4 a.m. But still acknowledge what was there while also mourning that it's not going to be there anymore. That's the most practical piece of advice for any heartbreak. It's simultaneously accepting and loving that which was and letting go and moving beyond that which will no longer be. You don't need to get really grandiose and projective if you're in a situation where you have been cheated on, or you're the one who cheated on your partner and now the relationship has ended. Don't put yourself in the demon or angel position. Sure, it is behavior that you really shouldn't accept from yourself if you have indeed lied, cheated, and otherwise destroyed the relationship through your poor life decisions. I don't support that. I don't think that's a good thing to do. And at the same time, you are not going to be benefited from whipping yourself for too many months in a row and not learning from the mistakes so that you don't do that ever again in the future to someone who you love and someone who loves you. There are lessons to be learned in the pain. And even if they did that to you, we reverse the roles, there are lessons to be learned. Otherwise, why would we bother to watch videos like this and try and process through all that wounding and all that baggage? It's not a simple situation, which is why it takes many months, and I want you to just be aware of the intensities of angels and demons, of good and bad, of you maybe not owning your half of the relationship, even if they cheated on you. Even if they were the one that screwed everything up, it's still a moment where you can reflect on the areas of the relationship where you could continue to grow. It's not painting it in a way where you're gaslighting yourself. I'm not going into that, please read between the lines, but it's understanding that maybe, let's say you're a man and your partner has cheated on you. It's been however many months or years, maybe if you pause and reflect, there were certain moments where she was hanging around with certain kinds of people, there were certain ways that you were communicating, there were certain ways that you weren't showing up in the relationship, and there were certain ways that you were generally also doing questionable things that contributed to her continual emotional instability to the point where she then feels like it's only that option. That's the only option she has. Because that's generally what happens. That's why people cheat and why the whole betrayal thing happens. Just own your share of the shadow. No one likes a breakup, even the person who feels like they came out on top and, I'm finally free of the person who was holding me down. They come to a moment when hubris collapses 6 months later, 12 months later, where they miss the partner that they abandoned in the past, and then they maybe try and get back with that partner, and look what's happened, he or she has moved on. I don't know if you're even getting any value from this video. Again, the reason that I almost didn't want to make this video is that I don't think it's very useful without me knowing the particular context that you're working with. The reason that I can work with clients in this space, and I often do, as I mentioned, they've just broken up before we got into work together, very common pattern. They're breaking up in the first month of us doing the work together because they wanted to have this emotional support of, okay, I can process the traumas, and they pre-plan, okay, I've been in this relationship, I know it's ending, and I'm going to get some therapeutic support. And I see a lot of breakups in the first month because they already decided they want to do it, and then I seem to come in when they're transforming to the next stage, and then a lot of them go through celibacy. A lot of the individuals I work with will just stop engaging in the outer world for a while because it's inner work. That's the point of a 4-month private container. Or they will start to go deeper into the relationship they're already in, and they'll have those mini heartbreaks of the people that they have been and the people that their partners be in, and it's still a strange heartbreaky territory. What's important for me as someone who's facilitating and trying to help my clients is that I relate to their individual story. When I've helped a young man heal from his breakup, several young men heal from their breakups, the way that I speak and articulate is so different from a woman in her midlife who's coming out of a marriage. They're completely different contexts. The young man, in all the situations I've seen, benefits from, look dude, it's over, you're going to do better, get in the gym, let's get your money up, time to get out in the world, let's crush it, you're going to do better. And then when he comes in with that feeling like, it's going well, but I still want to talk about this, I'm there for him. I'm there to chat about the difficulties that men don't tend to speak about, but the focus is on go out there and make yourself a stronger man so that you can feel like you haven't been shattered by this painful experience. And then we'll come to the painful experience. We still come there, but it's a different approach. And then maybe a woman who's in her midlife is coming out of a divorce or a long-term relationship, or maybe she hasn't had a relationship for a while. The way that her and I would engage is very, very different. I could spend 3 hours giving a variety of examples of different people, but then I'd be kind of going into the confidentiality spaces or minimizing people into stereotypes and random caricatures. So let's just keep this video short. How do you heal from a breakup? Only you can know that. There's practical tips like journaling and being grateful for what you do have and moving on and putting yourself out there, or maybe you just want to take the approach of getting blind drunk and sleeping with as many strangers as possible, and you learn through that dreadful series of choices that definitely doesn't work, and then you get to the stage of just whatever chaos you want to go into. Everyone has a different approach. I'm joking, by the way. I don't think that you should go and indiscriminately invite people into your bedroom to get over a partner. It's just a dreadful approach. Energetically, it is disgusting compared to what you could do with that opportunity. So many more options. Just take the road patiently. Acknowledge what was there. Acknowledge who you've been, who you are, and the same for them. Don't expect it to heal overnight. It really is a long process for most people. And even if you feel like you have moved on already, just be prepared that maybe there's something else in there that will come up in a few years' time. But this also depends on the level of the relationship. Maybe if it was just a 3-month relationship, it does just fall away within a few weeks. If it's 30 years, it's going to be a very different story. I hope this video has been useful nonetheless. If you do want a specific take on this heartbreak question, leave a more specific comment in the comment section so that I can properly frame if it's more of your context and several things and it's well placed and other people will benefit. I am happy to do more videos on this topic. it's just very difficult to talk about this topic because of the reasons that I've shared. One of the messiest videos I've probably released on this channel. I hope it's nonetheless been insightful. Stop looking for advice from men and women on the internet to help you heal your heartbreak and listen to your own heart. That's the place where it hurts. That's where the focus needs to be. And I think you've got it. I think you've got the awareness and the intelligence to sit down, make the space, and go into that. You're quite intuitively capable. So you can watch the next video on the screen or just turn off this video and sit with your heart. I think you should probably sit with your heart, but if you really want to bypass for a while, that's a very good video, and I know because it's my video, so choice is yours.